The last episode of Fallout Season 1 opens with Maximus. He's been brought back by Brotherhood to their base. When he returned to the base, the first thing they noticed that he's wearing the Knight's red. The Elder Cleric Quintus questioned Maximus that "Where's you, Knight?" Maximus says he's dead. Quintus finds interesting that because he looks at it as the second time a brother in his company has fallen into misfortune, and what he's talking about is what happened to Dane. Then he looks into the head and finds that the head he's brought back isn't actually the head that they were looking for. Quintus threw the head back at him and he calls him a liar and orders his knights to kill Maximus. Maximus starts begging for his life and says, "I can get them to real head. Don't kill me, I can lead them to it." But Quintus didn't listen to him. Just as Max is about to be sentenced to death, Dane says, "Please let him go. It wasn't his fault. I injured my leg myself. For the sake of Brotherhood, please listen to him." So Elder Quintus does and orders to release Maximus. Then he took Maximus to a meeting. Just he and Maximus. The first thing that Quintus asked was how Titus died. Maximus tells him that he died running. Then Elder Quintus tells him that the Brotherhood has just lost its way. We once ruled the Wasteland, and yet power is taken, not given. And he looks Maximus and tells him that if what you say is true, then you can lead us to the relic, and together, you and I will take power. And with it, we'll start a new Brotherhood. With me as its head, and the likes of you as its sword. Quintus says your entire life, you've been looking for a home. Built one with me. In next scene, we see Lucy has arrived to Moldaver's observatory with Wilsig's head. On the other hand, Howard is heading toward his destination. Then we see his backstory. After connecting a listening device to his wife's Pip-Boy, Howard went to drop off his wife at Vault-Tec. There he meets Bud Askins, works for Vault-Tec, and a super annoying guy who's a big fan of Howard, and Howard isn't a fan of him. He starts boring Howard to death about his new training program he has for up-and-coming executives. It's called Bud's Buds. It's basically a way to keep some of the executives alive longer so that they can finish off some projects that would take centuries to complete. He's very excited about it, and Howard is not. But Bud Askins was interrupted by Howard's wife. She said, "We are getting late, so let's go." Then Howard puts his listening device and tries to hear to his wife. But the transmission was going in and out, so he decides to head into the Vault-Tec to get closer to hear the conversation's going to be. Then we see Lucy. She reached to Lee Moldaver. She sees her father locked in a cage. Lee says her welcome, and Lucy sees a completely charred skeleton that somehow still alive is tied to a chair next to her. Lee says, "Join us, it's my turn to host." Lucy says, "I actually tried to stuff an old grenade into the neck hole and was going to walk in here and blow everybody up. But it's not how I was raised." And she gives Wilsig's head to Lee and asked her to release her father. Lee pulls out the artifact from Wilsig's neck and says to Lucy, "Before releasing your father, don't you want to know how I know your father? Who he really is?" Lucy's father, Hank, says, "No, Lucy, don't listen to her." Lee says, "You think your father is born in a vault like you brother?" Then we see Norman as he walks into Vault 31, and he's surprised because there wasn't anybody in it. The only thing he finds in there is a brain on a Roomba. And right away, Norman realized that this brain/Roomba is the overseer of Vault 31. In the next scene, we see Howard's backstory. He went inside Vault-Tec and asked his wife's secretary if she knew when his wife would be back. And this secretary is none other than Betty, the new elected overseer of Vault 33. Betty tells him that she's in a meeting. But in reality, Howard went there to spy on Barb, so he says he will wait until the meeting is over. Then Betty asks him that a guy named Henry, who is one of the higher executives, wants to meet Howard because he is a big fan of him. "So do you mind if I bring him by just to meet you for a moment?" Howard says, "Of course, I'm always happy to meet a fan." Then she leaves, and Howard begins listening to Barb's conversation through the listening device. Howard learns that Vault-Tec executives are trying to convince other companies to invest in them and collaborate with them. One of them says, "I don't get the vaults." when it's time to come out. What if people are still alive on the surface? They'll be Stone Age creatures. Probably eat whoever steps out of vaults. Bud says that isn't an issue. Our vaults has the resources to survive for centuries. Meanwhile, our competitors, every other human who isn't us will be dead on the surface. Because after all, time is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. Time is the apex predator, and that is how we will win the great game of capitalism. On the other hand, Norman finds a door. That talking Roomba threatens him to leave, but Norman opens the door. He finds a bunch of bodies in cryogenic chambers. They were all alive but asleep. That's what Vault 31's is filled with. There he also finds some empty chambers, and one of those was of his father, Hank McLean. Then talking Roomba says these people that are asleep are my buds, and it's called Bud's Buds. That brain on Roomba is actually Bud Askins. He says they outsourced the survival of the American race to a private sector, but it would have been insane to keep a failed nation alive. So we kept Vault-Tec alive instead, and this entire vault is just filled with Vault-Tec executives. Norman asks, so what are Vault 32 and 33 according to this? Bud tells him that they are just a breeding pool for the super managerial type who will inherit the Earth after they wipe the surface clean. Then we see Barb. She's trying her best to convince other companies to invest, and Howard is listening everything. A man says, but we're talking about making a significant investment based on a hypothetical. And asks, how can you guarantee results? Then Barb says, by dropping the bomb ourselves. Howard was deeply shocked to hear all this. And then Barb's secretary Betty tells Howard that Henry, who is desperate to meet you, has arrived. And this man, Henry, was none other than Hank McLean. Hank says, I hate to be that guy, but do you think you could give me an autograph? In next scene, we see Lee Moldaver is asking Lucy, did your father ever told you, where's he really from? When he's from, Lee says he never told your mother either. Lucy asks Lee that what does she know about her mother? Then we see Maximus. He finds that Dane is also coming with them. He asks Dane, are they sending you? Dane says it's the punishment for what I did to myself, and Dane also asks for forgiveness. Because for this Maximus was blamed. Maximus says, don't be. I was meant to go on that mission. He tells Dane that he meets a girl who's in danger. So I am going to rescue her, and I'm leaving with her. I'm going back where she came from. A vault, a peaceful place where there is no war. Then Dane says, there's nowhere safe, Max, and there's no leaving. And the Brotherhood departs for the mission. Here Lee tells Lucy that her mother, Rose, was a humble person who cared for all. She discovered the civilization has returned to the surface. When she told Hank, he said it was a ridiculous idea and that she should tell no one. And that's when she realized that her husband, Hank the Overseer, was hiding things. So she ran away and took her children. She found this wonderful city, Shady Sands, that was everything the vaults had promised to be. Then her husband came after her and she decided not to return home. He took the children and he burned that city to the ground. That's how Vault-Tec deals with competition, just like they did 200 years ago. Hank keeps telling Lucy that Lee is lying. Lee says, Lucy, what you brought me is cold fusion. It's limitless energy. We can build our own world, a better world for all. And that's why I kidnapped Hank, because only a Vault-trusted executive can activate cold fusion. So all I need him to give me the code. Hank shouted, Lucy, look at me. She's a liar. Then Lucy finds that the charred skeleton tied to the chair is her mother. Lucy is so emotional by seeing her, and she can't hold back her tears. Lucy requests her father to just give her the code. Hank gives the code, and the cold fusion gets activated. Then we see Norman. He found out everything about the vault. Then he says to Bud, it was nice to meet you, and now I must go back. Bud says you can't leave because you figured it all out. And now the only option for you is to go into your dad's pod and wait just until we're all ready to go to the surface. After listening to him, Norman could not understand what he should do next. On the other hand, Hank tries to convince Lucy that what he did was necessary. By then, Fusion Core is ready. As Lee was working on it, they hear an incoming aircraft siren go off, and they know that the Brotherhood are on its way. Lee orders her men to barricade the door. Don't let anyone in here. They attack their aircraft by rocket launcher and machine guns. The Brotherhood attacks in return. This battle becomes fierce. They are killing each other. There is a lot of bloodshed. Maximus, Dane, and some knights somehow manages to escape and reach inside the observatory. They kill everyone who tries to stop them. And then they see the Ghoul there, who somehow manages to get there. Howard says, "Well, I know that outfit makes y'all feel like a big man, 'cause I used to wear one back in the day. But there was only one problem with it. There was a flaw in the welding just below the chest plate. And he says, I wonder if they fixed that in this new model." And he shoots, and in a single bullet he kills the knight despite his armor. Seeing this, they all start firing at Howard. Howard just turns off the power there and starts shooting everyone. He kills many of them. Hank keeps convincing Lucy and he tells her, "Please open the door." Then Maximus arrives there. He somehow managed to escape from Howard. He finds Lucy's dad still locked up. Since he doesn't know anything else, he unlocks Hank. Lucy tells Maximus that the man behind this all is Hank. He's the one who bombed Shady Sands. And Maximus, who's a survivor, is just as floored as Lucy. But neither of them noticed, is once Hank was freed from his cage, he strapped into a Brotherhood of Steel armor. Hank demanded that Lucy to come with him. But Maximus, who's in rage at this point, goes to attack Hank. But Hank knocks him out. Lucy, who's also in rage, decides to put a gun to her dad's face. Hank isn't worried because he knows she can't shoot him. He says, "I am your father. You're not going to hurt me." Meanwhile, Howard shoots him and says, "You want another autograph, Henry?" Howard explains that when he heard Lucy's last name, he figured that they must be related. And he's glad that he finally gets a chance to ask the question he's been waiting to ask for 200 years. Which is, where's his family? Hank, though, doesn't answer it. Instead, he backs off and flies off, and Howard lets him go. We then see Maximus unconscious. Lucy tries to wake him up, but he doesn't get up. Lucy asks Howard, "Why did you let my father go?" Howard says it's easier to chase a wounded animal than to get answers from a dead one. He then says, "You probably want to know how I know your dad. Well, let's just say that everything about your whole little world was decided over 200 years ago. Now you can stay here with Maximus, and when his Brotherhood take this place, and they are going to take this place, they'll kill you and everybody here, or you can come meet your makers." This was Lucy's only option, but before she leaves, she has one thing to do. She picks up a gun and she puts her mother out of her misery. She shoots her. She then says goodbye to Maximus, who's still unconscious, and she leaves with Howard. Now, long after Lucy does leave, Maximus finally comes to. He realizes that nobody's there with him, but then he hears somebody's coming, so he decides to hide in the shadow, and that person was Lee. She was badly injured, but at this point, her machine to activate cold fusion is ready to go. So she goes and presses a button. Cold fusion is now activated. She sits down and watches what happens. Maximus also can't help but watch what happens. Cold fusion generates power by which all the lights of the building go on. Lee asks Maximus, "What do you suppose your Brotherhood would do with infinite power?" She says, "Maybe you can stop them, maybe you can't. Maybe all you can do is try." And she dies. A few seconds later, Dane and the rest of Brotherhood come up. Dane asks Maximus, "Is that their leader?" And when Maximus says yes, Dane looks down and finds the leaders dead. Dane proclaims the entire Brotherhood that Maximus shall be a knight hereafter. And all the Brotherhood starts chanting, "All hail Knight Maximus." And Maximus doesn't correct them because at this point he's torn on what Lee just said. In last scene we see, Hank ends up in a city. I don't know what exactly is it, but it looks like New Vegas. I could be wrong, but whatever it is, it's surrounded by a wall, big ground. You get the drift. So this was the end of Season 1 of Fallout. Hope you enjoyed the explanation of Fallout series. And if you did, then hit the thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Stay tuned for more detailed explanation of movies. Thanks for watching.